Hello viewers, hope you're doing well. This is Olivia from Uptrend Safaris and we are really glad for your endless support. Our subscribers on YouTube, thank you for the sacrifice you're making. In case it's your first time to see our videos, you're really missing out a lot. You should check our website, check our channel on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type there Big Nine Wonders and you will see very many amazing videos about Uganda and then Rwanda. We have videos showing almost all the national parks in Uganda. We have videos for Queen Elizabeth, we have videos for Bwindi, we have videos for Kibale, we have videos for Lake Victoria, we have videos for almost all the national parks in Uganda. So for the Big Nine Wonders channel, check out our videos and you will be amazed by the information there. So today, the previous video, we talked about the duration for a safari. How many days do we recommend for you to have a safari in Uganda? And when we are describing for you about the days, we said one of the determinants of the duration for your safari is your budget. How much money do you plan to spend on your safari? So in this particular video, we are talking about the budget. How much does it cost for someone to have a safari in Uganda or in Rwanda? How much should a tourist set aside if he or she is planning to come to Uganda and, let me say, check out the rare mountain gorillas or check out the chimpanzees, or if someone is not interested in the primates and just wants to do the game drives, he wants to see the big five, you want to do a boat trip on Kazinga Channel, yes, how much money should you set aside for the safari? And we are saying that your budget is determined by very many factors. Like we say, the duration is determined by factors. Even the budget you should set aside is determined by very many factors. And one of the factors that determines your budget is the duration. How many days are you planning to spend on a safari in Uganda or in Rwanda? How many days do you plan to be on a safari? Here, the best way to describe it will be through example. If someone is interested in being in Uganda for 3 days, the how much he will spend on a safari will be totally different with how much money someone who is planning to spend a week in Uganda will spend. You get my point? Yes. If someone is interested in being in Uganda for only 3 days, it will totally be different with the person who is interested in being in, let me say, Bwindi and Kibale and then maybe Maction Falls, because that will be more days. So that is factor number one, the days that you plan to spend on a safari. The second determinant will be accommodation. Accommodation really plays a very big role when it comes to planning for a safari, when it comes to budgeting for your safari. In Uganda, we have different rates for accommodation. We have the budget accommodation. Under these, we have the cheap lodges, the camps, but we consider also the quality of the lodges. Yes, even if they are cheap accommodations, we have to consider other factors like the security around that accommodation, the sanitation and the cleanliness around that accommodation. Will the person, will the client that will sleep in that accommodation be safe? Yes, so we have to consider also that. And we are saying that in Uganda, the cheapest accommodation that is safe and really clean, that you will sleep there and you will be safe and you will want to worry that after the safari I will suffer from maybe stomach problems, diarrhea or whatever. Yes. So the cheapest ranges between $50 and then to $120 around there. You can get a lodge, let me say, in Bwindi that is around $70. Yes. You can go to Kibale and might get a lodge that is around $50. You can sleep in camps in Uganda that are of $50, and that $50 will include also the meals because you will need to eat before doing the safari. So the cheapest accommodation, the camps, if you're hiking Rwenzori Mountain and you will be sleeping in camps, set aside between $50 and then to around $120 for the cheap accommodation. That is the budget accommodation. And then those who want to sleep in standard rooms, that is what we call the mid-range accommodation. You want to sleep in mid-range accommodation in Uganda, set aside between $150 and then to around $250 to $30 around there. You will get a very good lodge in Uganda at around $180. You get a good lodge at around $200 per night, including all the meals. So, and trust me, if someone is sleeping in a mid-range accommodation, his budget or her budget will be totally different with someone who is sleeping in budget accommodation. And then we also have the same luxury accommodation and then the luxury accommodation. So in case you feel like, yeah, you're ready to spend money, you're ready to sleep in a luxury accommodation, you can set aside between $350 and then up to $500 because we have lodges in Rwanda that are around $510. We even have those at $680. So in case you're for luxury accommodation, you should also set aside money that is for luxury accommodation that will get you that luxury room with almost everything that you need in it. And if you're for luxury accommodation, trust me, your budget, even if you're doing 3 days, someone who is doing 3 days Goya trekking in Bwindi and is sleeping in a budget accommodation will spend totally different, will actually spend a quarter of someone who is sleeping in a luxury accommodation and still doing 3 days Goya trekking Bwindi. So the accommodation you sleep in will determine a lot about the budget you should set aside for a safari. So after the number of days, you should consider also the accommodation. And then another factor will be the modes of transport that you prefer using while on a safari. For someone who wants to use the helicopter, you want to use the flyover, or maybe from Entebbe you want to fly to Chibale, the budget will be different with someone who will do a road drive up Chibale. If you're interested in flying from Entebbe to Chihihi airstrip, you will spend different money with someone who is on a road drive from Entebbe to Bwindi. So the modes of transport also determine the budget for your safari. And lastly, the last factor that we might talk about, we can talk about the company that is bringing you to Uganda. The tourist company that you get in touch to help you do the safari. Also, it somehow, somewhere determines your budget for a safari because different companies charge different amounts of money for the services rendered towards a client on a safari. Yes. So in case you're budgeting for your safari, you should also consider which company are you going to use when you come to a safari in Uganda. So those are some of the determinants. There are many, but I might not describe all of them because of time factor. So let me try to draw for you a picture of how much it might cost you on a safari to Uganda. I'm not saying that what I'm going to give you is the exact money that you will spend on a safari, but it's a picture of how much you should expect to set aside that you will spend on a safari. And I'm going to describe this depending on the factors that I've described for you. For example, let me start with the days. If you're interested, let me say in taking out the primates, for example, the rare mountain gorillas, and you want to spend 3 days. The amount of money you will spend, we've already agreed that it won't be the same with someone who is on the safari for 5 days. But then it will also not be the same with someone. If you're on a budget safari, it will not be the same with someone on a luxury one. So in case you're on a budget safari for 3 days to Bwindi, the minimum that you should expect to spend will be around $1,900. That's if you want to sleep in the cheapest lodges, you want to sleep in camps, around 1,900. Some companies will charge you around $1,900 and then up to $2,300 around there. That is for the budget safari. And then for those of middle range, you want to sleep in standard rooms, you should set aside around between $2,300 and then up to $3,000 around there. Mid range, yeah, company can give you a safari. And then those of luxury safari, you want to do 3 days Goya trekking Bwindi, you want to sleep in luxury accommodation, you should set aside around $3,500 up to around $4,600. That's a picture of how much you should set aside. And I'm not saying that these amounts I've said is the exact price that you will pay, but I'm giving you a picture in my estimation where I've said the minimum will be around 1,900. In case it's to go higher, at least there will be an addition of slightly around 100, or if it's highest, then there will be a difference of around $200. And in case it becomes cheaper than 1,900, then you will find that it's around 1,700. Yeah, around there. So it will be slightly cheaper or it will be slightly higher than what I've estimated. And then in case you're not interested in the primates, because what will determine that amount for the Bwindi is the trekking permit for the primates. In case you're interested in the rare mountain gorillas, because trekking out the rare mountain gorillas, the permit is at $700. So for a company to do your safari, they will first have to deduct that $700 for the trekking permit to UWA. So in case you're not interested in the primates and you just want to do a game drive in, let me say, Chidepo, or you want to do a boat trip around Maction Falls, you just want to hike the Maction Falls and then do a game drive, or you're interested in a boat trip in Queen Elizabeth National Park, the cost will be totally different. Because, for example, let me say you want to spend 4 days in Maction Falls National Park, you want to do the game drive, you want to do a boat safari, and then you want to hike to the top of the falls. That money will be a little cheaper than for the Bwindi, because, for example, the game drive in Maction Falls is around $40, and then hiking to the top of the falls is around $60, and the boat trip might cost you around $60 to $80, around there. So you see the difference, because for the permit we've said it's around $700. So if these ones, the total of the activities you're going to do will cost you around, let me say it costs you around $250, then you get a budget accommodation of around $100. For the 4 days, you might spend around even $1,300 for 4 days in Maction Falls. That's if you're going to stay in camps or in budget lodges. And if you're of mid-range accommodation, your budget should be around $2,000 to around $2,700. Yes, around there. In case it goes cheaper, in case it goes higher than $2,700, then it will be around $2,900. Or if it's cheaper than what I've estimated of around $2,700, then it will be around $2,300, around there. That is for Maction Falls, around 4 days. And then if you're for luxury accommodation in Maction Falls 4 days, it might cost you between $3,500 up to around $5,000 for 4 days. That is Maction Falls National Park. Then, in case you're for Queenie, the budget might be around the same with Maction Falls in case you're for 4 days windy. And then to those people who are interested in trekking out the primates and then doing the big five, you want to check out the gorillas, and then you also want to do a game drive in Kidepo National Park, or you want to go to the Kimburo National Park, or you want to go to Maction Falls National Park. You want to spend around 5 days. You go to Bwindi for 2 days, and then you go to Maction for another 2 days, and then the last day of bringing you back to Entebbe, that is the 5th day. Your budget accommodation, if you're to sleep in budget accommodation, your budget for that safari of around 5 days, Bwindi, and then let me say Kidepo, the cheapest will be around $2,900 and then up to $3,300 around there. And then in case you're for the mid-range, you might spend around 3,500 and then up to 4,500 around there. And if you're for luxury, you'll spend about 4,000 and then up to around 6,000. That is for the luxury accommodation. And we are talking about taking the rare mountain gorillas and then doing game drives or doing boat trips. Yes. So apart from that, that is the budget. That is a picture for a budget of a safari in Uganda. So if we cross over to Rwanda, you're interested in primates, but you want to do them from Uganda because of your different reasons. The budget will also differ. Because, for example, for the primates, the rare mountain gorillas in Volcanoes National Park in Rwanda, the permits are at $1,500. Budget for rare mountain gorilla trekking in Rwanda, the permits are for $1,500. Yet in Uganda, the trekking permits for these primates is $700. You get the difference, so it's almost double price for the permits in Uganda. So someone who is doing a gorilla trekking in Uganda and someone who is doing it from Rwanda, if they are both doing it for only 3 days, the one in Rwanda will pay the double amount of the one who is doing it from Uganda. As we've seen, the permits in Uganda are 700 and then the permits in Rwanda are 1,500. So that will determine a lot about your budget. But I'm not the advertising Rwanda. It's a very good place to trek out the rare mountain gorillas, although it will depend on how much money you set aside for this safari. And then, as we've seen, that accommodation also determines a lot about the budget. In Rwanda, the cheapest accommodation that you can find starts around $170. That's the cheapest. You can get a lodge at around $150, starting from $150 and then to around $300. That is the budget accommodation in Rwanda. So in case you're in a budget, you're doing gorilla trekking for 3 days in Volcanoes National Park, the minimum amount you should put aside will range from $2,500 and then up to around $3,200. And then in case you're on a mid-range, you should set aside between around $3,700 and then up to around $5,000. And for those of luxury accommodation, because in Rwanda we have accommodations that are about $1,600. So for those of luxury accommodation, you can set around $8,000 to $10,000. That is 3 days Volcanoes National Park. I'm not saying that this is the exact amount that you will spend. It might be slightly lower or it might be slightly higher at around with a difference of around $300. So in case you're planning for your budget and you've watched my video, you should set aside for where, like I've said, $2,500, you can set aside around $100 for the miscellaneous. So in case you find something is a bit cheaper than what I've estimated, you can easily cover it up to avoid problems. Yes. And then for those who want to check out the chimpanzees from Nyungwe National Park in Rwanda, the permits at $150. So if you're considering the budget accommodation, you want to be in Nyungwe for 3 days, you can put aside around $2,200 up to $2,500. And then those of mid-range standard accommodation, you can set aside between $3,000 and then up to $4,000 or $4,500. And those of accommodation, luxury accommodation, you can set aside around $5,000 up to around $8,000. That is taking out the chimpanzees from Nyungwe. And then if you're to do Akajera, you want to do the game drives, want to do bird watching and all that, you're only interested in exploring Akajera National Park, no primates, you don't want to check out the gorillas or the chimpanzees, and you're on budget accommodation, you can set aside around $2,000 or actually around $1,700 up to $2,500. And then for the mid-range, between 2,000 up to 3,000 will be enough. And then for the luxury, you can even put aside $5,000. That is 3 days Akajera. And it will also depend on the factors that I've mentioned. So I think that's all I can talk about how much money you should set aside for a safari in Rwanda or Uganda. What I've said is not exactly the exact amount as I've already told you. Why I've said $2,000, it might be cheaper by 100. You find it that it might cost you around $1,900 or even around $1,850. Yes. And where I've said it may be 2,500, if it exceeds, you might find that it has exceeded by around $100 or $200. So it might be around $2,700 or $2,600. Yeah. So in case you're planning for a safari to Uganda or Rwanda, you're like me, in August I should go to Rwanda for 3 days, or me in September I should go to Uganda for 6 days. Get in touch with us, Upstrand Safaris. You can check our website, Upstrand Safaris. You will see our contact there. You can give us a WhatsApp message. You can give us a quick call. You can send us an email, info@Upstrand Safaris, and we shall prepare for you a very memorable safari to either Rwanda or to Uganda. We shall book for you the trekking permits for the primates. We shall do the pickups from the airport and drop-offs. We shall book for you the lodges and hotels, because we are in touch with these accommodations and we have all the information about them. So it's easier for us to book for you than you reaching in Uganda and you get stranded to book out these accommodations, because it's not easy. Yes, so send us an email on info@Upstrand Safaris and we shall be glad to serve you. Thank you for your support and we love you so much.